Hi, I'm Lita Leapin.
And I'm Jim Gordon.
And welcome to another edition of Our City Tonight.
Well, here where we start most of our shows at the home of our production partners, Hubcast Media Studios here in Vancouver.
And we have a great show coming up, so stay tuned right after this.
Ellen, she's tapped into something here. Remember that march in New York and how many women showed up to that? Bunch of record sales marching down the street. What are you doing? You want to lose your recording contract?
This is more than just a song to me.
The winner is Helen Reddy.
And I would like to thank God because she makes everything possible.
What you're looking at is the new biofilm, I Am Woman, the captivating story of singer-songwriter Helen Reddy, portraying Helen Reddy in what the Hollywood Reporter is calling a breakout performance is Tilda Cobham Hervey. And she joins us now all the way from the city of Adelaide, Australia. Tilda, welcome to Our City Tonight.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Tilda, thanks for waking up early where you are in Adelaide. I know it's 8 a.m., but we appreciate you joining us. Hey, congratulations. Lita and I reiterate what the Hollywood Reporter said. This is a great performance. We were both saying, like, we were both kids when Helen Reddy was at her high watermark during that 1970s period. I really had forgotten, although I'm a big fan, I'd forgotten how big of a star she was, not just in music, but in TV and movies and concerts. Talk about taking on an iconic role, because that is a daunting, can be intimidating, understandably intimidating challenge for an actress. So talk about where you began taking on the role of Helen Reddy.
Yes, it was incredibly daunting. So when I found out I got the role, I was 22 years old and living in Adelaide. And I got offered this role of playing a woman, Helen Reddy, who ages from 24 to 48 in the film, has 2 children, is a 70s pop star, feminist icon. And I did have that moment of going, how on earth am I going to pull this off? And I think I felt that the whole way through filming as well. She's such an extraordinary woman. And it's funny, when I first found out I got the role as well, I, of course, knew the song I Am Woman, but I didn't know a huge amount about her life, I'm very ashamed to say. And it was one of the greatest joys to just be able to delve in and learn about this extraordinary woman. And I'm very excited to be able to share her story with the next generation as well.
And on to some of your other accolades. You've appeared in some really critically acclaimed films leading up to this one. Can you share a little bit about your background on those films as well?
Yeah, so, well, the first film I was in was a very unusual film called 52 Tuesdays, which shot every Tuesday, only on Tuesdays for a year. And I sort of fell into that film by accident. I actually grew up doing circus, which is a weird way to get into acting, and sort of fell into that role, which was really special. And we didn't think the film was really going to go anywhere. And then it sort of got into Sundance and went really well. And I had people going, hey, I'd love to be your agent. And I spent a long time going, what is an agent? So that's sort of how I fell into it. And then, yeah, I've been really lucky to work with incredible people. I recently worked on a film called Hotel Mumbai, which was sort of also based on real events. And that was a very intense film, but got to work with incredible people. So I feel very lucky.
And yeah, I was going to mention that that movie, Tilda, from 2018, something if you haven't seen, folks, you might want to check out. I've always been really envious and proud of the Australian TV and film community. I don't know whether it's just geographically because you're so far away, but you really have a thriving scene. But I also know that a lot of actors from your country want to come over here. Are you dividing your time between Australia and LA?
Yes, I'm actually currently in quarantine in Australia because I just flew back from LA. So I spend most of my time in LA. It's just, I thought it was time to come and see some family.
Tilda, we can't not mention the circus performance background. If you can, we're going to finish on that. Give us a little bit of insight into how that as well shaped you becoming an actress.
Yes, it was definitely a very interesting way in. Look, my mum's a dancer, my dad's a lighting designer, so I sort of feel like getting a real job was never going to happen. And I had a lot of energy, and my parents, when I was younger, was like, quick, get her somewhere to get rid of some of that. So I started going to this after school kind of circus workshop, really, these classes. And then at 14, I started a company with some of the older members of the group, and it's called Gravity and Other Myths. I think they've performed in Canada a lot, actually. And we sort of toured around with that for a lot of years. And yeah, it really did actually help weirdly with taking on the role of Helen Reddy, because a lot of this role was very physical for me. I feel like Helen has such a particular stance and a way that she holds herself, and sort of starting to try and take on other characters. And I think also the live performances that we do in I Am Woman, of her sort of recreating some of her iconic singing performances that we all know and love so much. That feeling of being on stage and performing to a live audience, I think having that background in circus really helped me with those scenes.
Tilda, we want to thank you once again for joining us all the way from Adelaide, Australia. And we've done a lot of interviews today, but I got to say, you've got the best looking background of any interviews we've done today. Very clean looking, a nice kitchen look you've got going on there.
Thanks so much. I can't even claim it's mine. It's just an Airbnb I'm staying in while I'm stuck in quarantine.
Okay. The movie is I Am Woman, I should say. It's out now on digital and, of course, video on demand. It's Tilda Cubbam-Hervey. Thank you for joining us, and continued success. And once you're out of quarantine, we look forward to seeing you in a lot more films.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, if you've been watching the show over the last 4 or 5 months, and we hope you have, you'll probably have noticed we've done a number of spotlights on a country that Lee and I both love. That's New Zealand. And it's time for another New Zealand Spotlight. I am joined by Mark Irwin, who is the president of 46 South Fish Company. We're not going to tell you where we are just yet, but we will tell you where we are and why we're here in a few minutes. But Mark, let's first get a little breakdown for our viewers on your company, 46 South Fish, and why, although you have offices in New Zealand and here, people have been obviously enjoying your product and probably not noticing it.
Yes, you're right. 46 South Fish Company has been distributing fish across Canada for the last few years. We're primarily based out of Vancouver, but we ship to all the major cities in Canada. So if you're in Toronto or watching this from somewhere else in the country, it's quite likely that if you've gone to some of the best restaurants in the city, that you would have actually experienced fish from New Zealand. A lot of people always ask us, why fish from New Zealand? And really, well, my commercial fishing background, passion for the ocean, and being aware of what New Zealand's doing as a very well managed fishery, and then seeing chefs be interested in different species of fish that they just can't get here. Was one of the main reasons why we set up 46 South, was that get that experience and have them experience it here.
One of the things you mentioned to me before we went on with the interview is about the blend of local. We certainly have a very vibrant fish community here, and a good relationship between local restaurants and bars and the fish community. But also that there's a lot of fish that you bring to the table, so to speak, that at different times of the year as well. Talk a bit about that.
Yeah, so we don't want to displace local fish. Like, local fish is one of those things we got to, you want to support. There's some beautiful species here, but there's times of year where you just can't get those species, especially winter. Or logistically, it's hard to get fresh day boat fish from the boats here because it's logistically difficult to get out there. It can take 2 days to get there, and then you're out there. You might as well sort of spend as long as you can out there, and so you freeze at sea. So that's why you find a lot of the fish here previously frozen at sea. Quality is still excellent. But generally, when you're freezing at sea, you want to take its head off and gut it, so the chef doesn't get to experience a whole fish and get to see like its eyes and gills and there's always other parts of the fish that you can actually utilize in cooking. So I think 46 South brings to the table a complement to the local. Good word. That's a great word. To the local fisheries, and also a time of year where you just can't get day boat fish. And fresh fish caught Monday, Tuesday here, Thursday, Friday. It's just not logistically possible here, and due to weather in the winter, and also the challenges and the distances it takes to get to the fishing grounds. New Zealand's spoiled because they can leave the harbour and be fishing within 10 to 30 minutes from the harbour, and we're also our hubs for getting that fish from the boat to the factory and factory to the airport are really short. So it means you can get that fish caught Monday, Tuesday, packed Wednesday, and here Friday.
Which is great. I was saying to you, that's what caught my ear when we first met, about the fact that you're catching it Monday on the other side of the world, and I'm eating it Friday in a restaurant. Speaking of restaurants, we are at Savio Volpe, which is a fabulous, iconic restaurant here at Kingsway and Fraser. Talk a bit about why we're here, because we're going to talk to their culinary director coming up later in the show. But why have you chosen this wonderful spot?
So, two reasons. Phil first reached out to us when he was starting and heading up Nightingale, and his overseas cooking experiences and what he wanted to bring to the table in Vancouver. He needed a fish that you just couldn't find here. So his menu had not just also local meat, local fish. It also complemented with the fish from New Zealand or also Japan at times. So that relationship started probably, I think, must have been 3-4 years ago, and through that relationship and now through Savio Volpe, they also were wanting fresh fish to cook whole in their oven during the winter months. They couldn't get fresh fish. So the combination between Phil now working at Savio and we've been working with Savio also, this is a no-brainer decision to come here and work with Phil on this.
My last question for you, Mark, because you're catching it on a Monday on the other side of the world, and it's on my plate in a restaurant like Savio Friday, the details, the challenges, the freshness, give a little brief description for our viewers about what you guys do to make sure everything is done correctly and that it's served as fresh as it possibly can be.
Yeah, so having your cold chain logistics dialed in, that's making sure you've got solid freight forwarders, good airlines, good logistics, direct flights. That's a key. And then what's most important is working with fisheries that know what they're doing. So Lee Fish, that's predominantly who we work with in New Zealand. They're a small operation in the far north of New Zealand. I think Lee itself is only 500 people. The fishery is close to the factory. So that means the boats can day fish. They're out in the morning, they're home in the evening. Right. But the most important thing is they know how to harvest fish a Japanese way, which is called ikejime, or brain spiking the fish. So the fish arrive on, they're instantly brain spiked, put in an ice slurry, and that brings the temperature down immediately. Then they're put on ice and then taken to the factory later that day. And that cold chain starts right when the fish come aboard the boat. So it's experienced fishermen that know what they're doing. It's a method that's well proven in Japanese culture, and then good logistics and getting it here as fast as possible.
I tell you what, that's great stuff. Mark Irwin is the president of 46 South Fish Company, 46south.ca. We're going to return to Savio Volpe later in the show to talk to the culinary director that Mark was mentioning, Phil Scarfoni, and we're going to look at what he's preparing. That's coming up later in our city tonight.
Well, for the last decade, for me, a summer would not have been a summer without our next guest. The last 5 of those years have been with our city tonight, but I've always enjoyed every summer chatting with Kate Linder. She is part of daytime television's #1 drama, both in the States and, of course, here in Canada. Every summer for, gosh, probably the last 22, 23 years, she's come to Vancouver with some of the cast members of Young and the Restless, and it's all a great afternoon, and the best news is it's all for charity. Now, of course, this last summer, she's not been able to come up because none of us have been able to travel due to COVID, but I want to welcome our next guest. It's so good to see her. It's Kate Linder, better known as Esther on Young and the Restless. She has found a way to connect with fans and raise money without coming to our city or some of the other Canadian cities. She has got the first ever Kate Linder and Friends Opportuna-Tea online as opposed to the afternoon tea. Hey, Kate Linder, welcome to our city tonight. You're calling us and talking to us from Los Angeles. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. It's great to see you. You didn't think you were going to get away with it this year, not see me. No, sorry.
As I was thinking to myself last night before I knew we were going to be talking to you today about the fact that it's every summer for I think the last 9-10 years. It's every summer you bring cast members up. We do it part of our show, but you've done something really wonderful this year, because what's tough about events like yours is that they raise a lot of money and you're able to also connect with the fans. But tell us about what you're going to be doing on October 4th at noon. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Well, we're doing the first ever virtual tea. And we decided, we thought about it, and we thought, well, we kept postponing the event. And we kept thinking, okay, it's going to get better. We kept changing the date. And then finally we realized that, this year it's just not going to happen. So let's still do the event. And all the charities now are in trouble and hurting, and if there was a way that we could all get together and help out at the same time, I thought that would be fabulous. So that's what we've done, and we're having a virtual tea And my castmates are incredible because they're joining in, all kinds of them. Christian, who always co-hosts it with me, he's going to be there. And then we have, also from Global, we have Carolyn and Jeff. They said, oh, wait, we're part of this. We're going to be part of it as well. We've got Michelle Stafford and Brighton and Brittany, and we have Liz, who plays my daughter, and we have Mark and Sharon. It's great. We have all kinds of people.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I've always told you as a compliment how great the actors are when they come up to Vancouver every summer. As I said, I've been doing it a long time and a big fan of the show, been watching it a long time, #1 daytime drama. Where can people, Kate, get more information? I know we mentioned katelinder.com, but there's also, you can go to, is it March of Dimes?
Yes, you can go to March of Dimes, I believe, .ca. Opportunities or online teas, Kate Linder and Friends, and they have all the information. The one good thing about this is before, if you didn't live in the area, it was really hard for some people to get there. But now, no matter where you live, whether you're in Canada or States or wherever you are, you're going to be able to join in for that hour. And so I think it's great. We also have an online auction that's going to go live in about another week. And that's great as well. It's going to help out.
Kate, I'm very happy, as one of the themes that's been running through our show over the last 5 or 6 months is altering, adapting, or pivoting to make things work. So I'm very happy to hear you're going to be doing this. It's Kate Linder and Friends. If you're in Vancouver or Calgary or throughout the rest of the country watching the show, you can now take part in this. It's October 4th, noon p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. It's katelinder.com. Also go to March of Dimes, and a lot of the cast members are going to be there. Kate Linder, thank you so much. I'm so glad we got to talk this year, as we've done every year for the past 10 years. Continued success, and we'll look for you on October 4th.
Okay, it's nice to see you, even
you too.
virtually.
Thank you, Kate. You
Okay.
too. Thanks.
Well, we're back here at Savio Volpe, where we were earlier. We talked to Mark Irwin, president of 46 South Fish Company earlier in the show. He talked about getting the fish from way down in New Zealand to the plates where we are right now at Savio Volpe and some other restaurants in town. I'm now joined by the culinary director, Phil Scarfoni, who joins us. Phil, welcome to our city tonight.
Thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome in part 2 of our New Zealand Spotlight. Okay, let's give us a little background on your history. You've certainly been around the restaurant scene in Vancouver for
Been
some
around
time.
the block a few times, yeah. So started at DB Bistro back in the day, and then went to Oru at the Fairmont, and then helped open Hawksworth, and then helped open Nightingale. So I was with the Hawksworth group for about 10 years before here.
And you came here in February, right before COVID. We should mention, give a shout out. You oversee the food here, but where else?
Cafe Latana and Pepino Spaghetti House, which is North Commercial.
Very nice, great spot too.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, Mark was talking about the fish coming from there to here. Of course, you are saying the same thing about this is in the waters off New Zealand Monday. It's Friday, the day we're filming, and it's on the plate, ready to be eaten.
Yeah, it's beautifully fresh. As far as like whole fish options in Vancouver, people get pretty tired of rockfish pretty quick. So this is a beautiful option. They look alive when you open the box. It's amazing. Actually, I was floored the first time. So.
And as Mark alluded to, you're not ignoring local. You have a large local element here in the store. 90%, I think you said, of everything that comes in here.
Yep, yeah. 90% local, local and organic as well. So we want to pair with kind of the best farmers in the area, and whatever rolls in the door during the day is on the menu at night. So.
And of course, let's get into this dish here, which is spectacular.
Yeah, so this is a porai. So it's kind of like a few different textures with fish. There's like a nice kind of fatty, soft tissue near the front of the fish, near the collar, and then firm fish all the way through. Super buttery, really delicious, crispy skinned. Can't really go wrong with that one.
These mushrooms, I can't wait to try.
We picked the chanterelles in Squamish earlier this week, so. now they're here.
Can I get this on the menu all the time? Or you said you were talking about seasonal, and this is kind of a cherry on top compared to the other fish you offer.
The menu changes every day. So we have a wood-fired grill. We use the menus from the day prior to start the fire for the day, and we just start fresh every day. So some days you'll have a whole fish. Some days you'll have like a 2 kilogram like big thick steak for everyone to share. So you just have to come and find out.
Let's go from this to oh boy, that looks good too.
Oh, it's delicious. I'm happy with how it turned out, for sure.
Give us a little description.
Yeah, so this is a moonfish, or opa. So it's a pelagic fish, so it moves around all through the year, and it's has a whole bunch of different textures in one fish, like this one. This is the kind of like, I would say, the tenderloin of the fish, but it's just sliced really thinly, dressed with really nice olive oil and some beautiful Stony Paradise tomatoes, and a little bit of breadcrumbs as well.
Oh, this looks delicious. We're going to have to stop filming soon so we can all eat. It's Phil Scarfoni. He's the culinary director here at Savio Volpe. Come on and check this great restaurant out right at Kingsway and Fraser. Thanks to him, and thanks to Mark Irwin for joining us on another edition of our New Zealand Spotlights. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
This segment of Live Debt Free is brought to you by Debtco.ca, helping Canadians get out of debt based on ability. And joining us now in the studio here at Hubcast is Chris Smith. He is the founder of Debtco.ca. Chris, welcome.
Thank you, Jim.
You're quite welcome. Okay, every time you're on, we are talking about certain elements of debt, certain types of debt. We talked about automotive debt and financing before. Now we're going to get into something that I think everybody in this country can relate to, and that is credit card debt. Let's talk about this, and that first figure you've got is not shocking, but still, it does shock me.
Absolutely, Jim. You know, late last year, the Canadian outstanding credit card debt balance, if you combine it all together, Canadians owe $100 billion for the first time in history on their credit cards. It's substantial.
Yeah.
And you know, the default rate is rising, and it's projected to rise from the beginning of the year to the end of the year by about 31%. So default rate's going up, and when you look at that $100 billion outstanding, I guess what we're talking about today is that $3.8 billion in credit card debt that is behind, perhaps by 90 days or more.
Let's talk, I mean, I think I have a good sense of why this is happening, but let's, for our viewers, talk about why there is such a dramatic rise in defaults.
Absolutely. So we've got the pandemic. That's been going on.
Yeah.
You know, there's been wage scale backs. I certainly know of companies that have scaled back people by 20%. People that have lost their jobs. You look at Vancouver, which is hospitality based primarily, and there are a lot of people that didn't work for a few months, and I'm sure they were living on their credit cards.
Yeah.
You know, and then I think you're at home. You're spending a lot of time at home, and maybe you spend a little bit too much on Amazon.
I was going to say, that's just too easy to just press some buttons and get that. Ooh. Yeah. You're the expert. Let's get some tips to prevent credit cards from getting out of control, because, as I said, I think it's something we can all relate to in terms of spending too much because that card is so easy.
Absolutely. You know, if you can, don't carry a balance. First and foremost, if you're charging it up, pay it off within the month, which is great. Don't be late on your payments, because what'll happen, you can read the fine print and your rate will bump up. So miss a payment or be late on a payment, suddenly your interest rate goes up a few points. Yeah. That's not much fun. You know, it's interesting, if you've got a $10,000 credit card limit and you exceed revolving over 35% of that, or $3,500, that's a magic number, and that when you exceed that, your beacon score and your credit score is going down.
Right.
So you want to keep it, you know, if you have to revolve it, keep it under 35%. I think that's super, super important. And you've got credit cards that range up to 28.8% interest.
Do a lot of people miss that?
You know, some do, and you know, they might rush out and buy something. So it's really, be careful what you're buying, because if you know, you think you're getting something and it's a deal, and you're spending $1,000 today, and you leave that on your card for a year, well, it's a heck of a lot more than $1,000 by the time you're done paying the interest.
Leads into our next thing. What happens when you do get behind? And give our viewers some options that you can provide that are out there.
Okay, so when you get behind your credit cards, you know, they're going to call. They're going to write. They're going to threaten them, potentially hire collection agencies, you know, lawsuits, garnishment wages, all those terrible things.
Right.
But you know, there are options, and there are ways to get through this. You know, first and foremost, right now there may be some deferrals, so you can look at that.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could consolidate, and you know, if you've got a bunch of 20 or 28% credit cards, consolidation loan may help you to fold that into your mortgage or something along those lines. Perhaps you have some assets you can sell. So somebody's got a big pile of credit card debt. yeah, let's get that paid somehow. And for severe cases, there's certainly bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Which is scary, but it's an option, or a restructuring plan that you can pay back your debts based on ability at a reduced amount.
We always like to end on a high note, on a positive note. Can you talk about briefly in our final few seconds about some of the successes that you've provided in your business?
Absolutely. Yeah, we had someone come in recently that had about $50,000 in credit card debt, and we got them into a plan based on ability that allowed them to pay back 15 of the 50,000 at $300 a month, interest-free, over 5 years. And they saved $35,000 in principal. Wow. And then no interest. So another, say, $50,000 in interest. So they saved about $85,000. And I guess the key is the math worked.
Yeah. Always some good options. Always great to have you here. I always feel more comforted after having talked to you. It's Chris Smith. He is the founder of debtco.ca. Check the closing credits, website information, phone number, it'll all be there. Chris will be back again with another edition of Living Debt Free coming your way very soon on Our City Tonight. This segment of Live Debt Free was brought to you by debtco.ca, helping Canadians get out of debt based on ability. Well, we're back here where we started the show at the home studios of our production partners, Hubcast Media.
And we're here to say goodbye, but before we go, we want to invite you to see all of our past episodes on our YouTube channel, as well as visit us on our social media at Our City Tonight.
I'm Jim Gordon.
And I'm Lita Leapins.
We'll see you on the next edition of Our City Tonight. The Inside Real Estate segment is always brought to you by the Ballard 360 team from RE/MAX Masters Realty. Mark and Kaylee bring sage wisdom and youthful energy to all their customers' real estate needs. This segment of Live Debt Free was brought to you by debtco.ca, helping Canadians get out of debt based on ability. Outdoor wear for Jim and Lita provided by Helly Hansen, alive since 1877.
Youngblood Mineral Cosmetics provided by Soluzione Spa Products.